Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. July's monthly report released yesterday for the PU, so today I would like to break that down. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support. It is truly appreciated. So kicking off with AI content, they received a large amount of data from a recent mocap shoot. The vendor behavior was the first to be addressed, with the team finishing the first polish pass alongside design, who sanity checked the coffee shop vendor. The next step is to internally review the behavior with final data, retarget it to the female skeleton, and complete the look IK pass. The doctor and nurse elements for the medical behavior received data as well, which is currently being implemented and polished. The doctor is now set up to react to the player respawning or entering a room in flow, while the nurses inspect the relevant usables with dialogue and facial animations to match the flow being added shortly. It'll be very interesting seeing these hospitals and how they function when you spawn in or even just wander in there. Finally, AI content kicked off a pre-production for the future behaviors with outposts, hospitals, and patron behaviors, all being well received by the directors. Now for the animation team, they looked into usables used throughout the PU and created poses for the usables, such as beatdowns in prison. So far this has been completed for prisons, medical locations, shanty towns, Kasaba stores, and the G-Lock bar, with the goal being to meld the animation and design disciplines together to lay out existing and new animations in a way that simulates how humans behave. It'll be so interesting to see just how lifelike CIG can really make their AI, especially as they will be making up 90% of the population. It is severely important that they act appropriately, and I do feel like they are doing some special things there. Now for the character art team, they progressed with new in-shop armor, subscriber armor, and helmets. They also begun designing Cybernetics and wrapped up new outfits for shopkeepers and the inhabitants of Pyro. Very excited to see Cybernetics come along. They also helped in delivering the medical gown asset and medical skeleton. I think the medical gown is what you will wake up with or wearing when you spawn at a hospital. They also supported UI with shader research and development and provided exports of all character assets in support of the physical inventory UI. Finally, backpacks were completed too, including ensuring that they appear correctly on the characters and in shops. Man, I'm gonna buy every backpack there is available. Can't wait. For the environment art, they continued to polish Pyro's planets and moons to the expected quality standard. We did recently get to see one of the planets or moons in Nyx. I do suspect that CIG will not be showing us anything Pyro for the time being, as I assume they are planning to reveal it properly at CitizenCon. The Montreal team progressed with the grey box phase for the Rest Stop and Grimhex medical clinics. Devs can now walk into both locations and experience the correct mood, volumes, and flow. The Rest Stop clinics were the ideal opportunity, they say, to start working on module-based locations, which involves covering many rest stops with a restricted library of medical volumes. Area 18 and Lorville's hospitals are approaching white box complete. These locations are much larger in scope and require adaptation and revisiting to ensure that they live up to their potential. I'm interested to see what the Montreal team will start working on once they complete these hospitals. This was kind of a starting point for this Montreal team to sort of onboard them, so it'll be cool to see what other points of interest they work on. Now alongside this work, the team created and placed the derelict spaceship puzzles mentioned last month. Now these puzzles will be scattered across planets and space and will represent minor points of interest. They are currently in the proof of concept phase, with the team investigating various future opportunities. I believe that these are intended to tie in with the loot generation system, in which you go to a planet side or a space derelict, solve whatever the puzzle is, and then you will be rewarded with loot inside. I'm quite optimistic that both loot generation tier 0 and these puzzles will make it into the 315 build, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, so we need more information there. Now on to the ship art team. They pushed other vehicles through the pipeline, including both the Crusader Ares variants, which entered final art. The Drake Vulture continued to progress through the white box phase. An all-new vehicle entered the pipeline, and the upcoming variant mentioned last month moved into grey box. So quite a lot to digest there. Both the Ares variants and the Vulture we did see on Inside Star Citizen yesterday, which do look pretty cool. Very exciting to see these come along. But this new vehicle, this upcoming variant, I have no idea what they could be. Do let me know your ideas in the comments below. Talking of which, in the UK, a yet-to-be-announced ship had its damage, LODs or level of details, and final art completed, with the team wrapping up the finishing touches before handing it to tech art and other downstream teams, which could be things like visual effects and audio. Could this be the 400i? Again, put your thoughts in the comments. Now, the Redeemer received its exterior damage meshes and a final polish pass. The team are currently working on the exterior level of details, while the interior is going through its final art pass with the cockpit, turrets and lower level nearing completion. It is looking sexy as hell. Really looking forward to trying this out in 3.15. A new yet to be announced ship that the team are excited to share moved from white box to grey box while the Saber's cockpit and lighting were wrapped up. Again, I wonder what these unannounced ships could be. Is this one maybe a solo refinery ship? I'm going to guess and say that this one is probably the starter refinery ship and the previous one was the 400i, but we don't know yet, and there is another one to speak of, so just bear with me. Now, for the Retaliator, the first round of interior gold standard work is coming to a close, with the interior spaces corrected for metrics and AI navigation. New ship item components were added and the cockpit received a pass as well. Now, yet another unannounced ship is deep into the grey box phase, with the team saying, with some issues with its exterior mechanisms now resolved, it's moving through the pipeline well. There are a number of artists working together on this one, and each area of the ship's interior is coming along nicely. So again, no idea what this could be. I would hazard a guess and say maybe something like a Banu Merchantman, but that has already been revealed on the progress tracker, so as much as I say that, it probably isn't going to be that at all. Keep those thoughts coming in the comments below. I would love to know what you guys think these unannounced ships could be. Finally, work began on the new fuel arm for the Starfarer to support the refueling feature coming soon. We also got to see this on Inside Star Citizen, and it looks to be progressing really well. Great to finally get that ship's functionality going. Now, for the weapon art team, they completed the 2 size 7 bearing weapons for the Ares starfighters, plus work kicked off for the new size 3 bomb for the A2, and a variant of a mounted weapon turret for an upcoming ship was worked on. Also got to see the bombs on Inside Star Citizen, and it looks quite fun. These aren't the exact size 3 bombs, I think it's more just how they work in the physics, but still quite fun to see. Now, the audio team worked on the Grimhex Medical Center, which received effects and music passes to help compound the rundown aesthetic. They also added effects to the A2 Starlifter, including the onboard kitchen. The team made improvements to dogfighting and ship weapons, and when live, players will hear weapons from greater distances, and the battles themselves will sound more intense. Now, moving on to the character and weapons features team, they continued working on the new player inventory with daily reviews on the user experience, with the team saying there are a lot of hard choices being made on what will make it into the first release and what can be postponed. Even with some aspects of the inventory coming online later, the new player inventory system is shaping up to be a significant improvement to the existing PMA. Now, as much as I don't like the sound of things being postponed, I'm sure it'll still be a cool system nonetheless. So they say a key aspect of where the new player inventory differs significantly is the limit to physical space and location. While the various landing zones will have a generous amount of storage available to the player, anything left in one location cannot be accessed from another. So the player will need to make sure they transfer any items they need when exploring into their backpack or vehicle, and items purchased from shops will also be delivered to local storage. I am really looking forward to getting this system. I am already, when I play in the PU, thinking more about what items and equipment I need to take for each mission, even if it's just going off in a prospector for a short while. So having a better working intuitive system will be a huge improvement and really help to encourage me to make better choices and think ahead. Finally, there was a push to solve NPCs standing on chairs and benches, with, again in brackets here on the monthly report, simply put, if an AI is in the process of exiting their usable as they stream out, they will now teleport to the position where they would have exited to when they stream back in. I believe in your CIG. I know you can resolve this. Now onto gameplay features. They continued work on the new Knickknacks Asset Manager Mobiglass app. As the feature's functionality nears completion, the team conducted feedback and revision sessions to begin finalizing the look and feel of the app. They will wrap up development at the end of the quarter and are aiming to launch it with Alpha 3.15. This is how players will keep track of all of their items, where they have them stored and where they need to go to get them. Now the team began setting up the new shops for Orison and planned the Expo Hall setup for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo of 2951. The engineers worked on technical design documents for the Cargo Refactor and Character Archetype Editor, both of which will reach the review stage soon. The Cargo Refactor is going to be so great. I am hoping that this is one of the reasons why we haven't seen the commodity trading get much love over the last few patches, as they may be working on some more fundamental changes like the Cargo Refactor and the economy that are more worthy of their time rather than trying to hotfix what we have now. So hopefully that is the case, and once this Cargo Refactor does come in, they will be able to reshape the whole commodity trading and getting it working as intended. Finally, the team are finalizing the first iteration of the loot generation system, and once live, they will look for our feedback for future improvements and balancing. Still hoping to hear loot generation tier 0 will be in 3.15. Hopefully we will get some confirmation on that, or at least see it appear on the roadmap. Touch wood next week. Next up, we have the vehicle features team. They are focused on the combat balance for Alpha 3.14, as you can imagine. The team also continued to develop jump points, which recently went through design adjustments to improve functionality. They collaborated with Narrative to ensure that they don't stray from the lore, and are confident the recent adjustments will make the feature better in the long run. Internally, they also made jump points easier to work with and test, making sure that they can rapidly iterate and improve the look and feel of the whole experience. I guess they will likely need jump points for the CitizenCon presentation in a couple of months if they are planning to go through them. Now for the lighting team, they updated the Personal Manager app lighting to make it more user-friendly when selecting clothing and armor. Work also continued on the Colonialism outposts and hospital lighting for Lorville and Grim Hex. Finally, they started atmosphere and color grading for Pyro's planets and moons, and progressed with the lighting for Pyro's jump point gas cloud. All very exciting stuff. Again, I'm assuming we haven't seen much on the Colonialism outposts of late because they are saving these maybe for CitizenCon. They tend to hide things coming up to these events so that they can really reveal them and get the biggest bang for buck. Now the Narrative team began the month with a mocap shoot to capture the first set of vendor voice packs. This includes lines being used by bartenders and food stall vendors across the PU, with some additional lines recorded to support upcoming mission content. There was a lot of discussion over the upcoming outposts and hospitals currently in development, with work including write-ups for the various types of NPC encounters within these locations, and additional documentation to describe the branding, posters, and other environmental text that might be needed. Additional work was also done to flesh out some of the gangs of Pyro, delving into their hierarchies, their leaders, and wealth levels. Pyro, I have a feeling, will feel so different to Stanton. It'll be quite a moment when we finally get to go through to Pyro in the PU and experience all these outposts, these gangs, and just seeing how cool this new place will be. The Narrative team continued to work with AI content to work out some of the character archetypes. This time they focused on security and patron behaviors. These collaborations, they say, ensure both teams are in sync when developing characters. Now for the props team, they spent the month working up the utilitarian variants of the medical gameplay props, which basically match the metrics and functionality of the high-tech props, but have the appropriate art style to match the more lawless and low-tech locations, such as Grim Hex. Time was also spent creating new assets for Orison Crusaders showroom, including furniture, signage, and installations. We also got to see this on Inside Star Citizen, and it does look pretty fancy. And finally, work continued on props for the colonial outposts. Man, I can't wait to see them. I really hope that we can just kindly evict the residents and then take them for our own. I'm sure they will oblige. Anyway, for the systemic services and tool teams, they continued the development of Quantum, which is the economy and AI simulation. This involved improving fidelity and interaction within the game itself to provide further intelligent reasons as to why certain service beacons spawn and why ship and fuel prices shift. The team are currently dealing with the final edge cases for the Super P cache for Alpha 3.14 and optimizing other dependencies on the services. I really hope that we get to see some of the economy evolve to use these systems this year. I think they are intending on starting it this year, and potentially the Ninetales and Xenothread events are the test cases for this. We will have to see. So for the tech animation teams, they completed their planning for the rest of the quarter and are well underway with deliveries, including assisting in the creation and implementation of upcoming key deliverables like AI combat iteration, usables, and art refinement to head assets. The Turbulent Services team fixed bugs and made improvements to the previously released role-based access in Hex. The team also continued working on the server meshing project alongside making supportive fixes to Hex and Alpha 3.14. Now, I don't think we'll hear much more about server meshing until CitizenCon, as they did say they have a dedicated panel talking specifically about server meshing with Tony Z, so I'm assuming they will keep stum until then. Now, moving on to Turbulent's web platform team, they delivered an automation mechanism to make it easier and quicker for the platform team to ensure players have the right items in their account. Thank you very much. They're currently working on a project to make some database functionality asynchronous using Kafka technology, which the first proof of concept being integrated into the pledge store fulfillment process. That'll make it much more efficient and less prone to bugs. Moving on to the UI team, they worked on the UI screens for the upcoming hospitals and healing gameplay. Once functional, they ironed out teething problems with showing a 3D skeleton on a UI screen for the first time. Not sure what that means, whether it means that we can scan a player and see their skeleton. I can't imagine so, but I'm sure we will see when the time comes. The team also improved the visuals of holographic 3D items in the UI and optimized ways to display large lists without overloading the game. Work also continued on common controls for 3D objects that can be used in future screens across the game, including the new map system. Of course, that cannot come soon enough. Now, for the vehicle tech teams, they began preparing to expand the radar scanning and ping features to first-person gameplay, where players will be able to ping for hidden life forms on foot and then scan them for vital mission-related information, with the team saying it'll be nice to condense the macro-level vehicle scanning features into a more granular on-foot experience, where players will be able to perform actions on entities that are only a few meters in front of them as opposed to dozens of kilometers away. Finally, support began showing player-emitted signatures and ambient levels around their vehicles in the HUD. This will give players an idea of how detectable they are and how well they can detect others. This will be of great help. Giving a clear indication of how detectable we are will be so useful, so I'm very happy to hear that they are bringing more of that information onto the HUD. As of right now, they're just numbers. They don't really mean anything to me as yet. So that was this month's Persistent Universe Monthly Report. Lots of sneaky stuff happening with the ship section. Looking forward to learning more about these unannounced ships, plus seeing the Drake Vulture going through the pipeline is a bit of a dream come true for me personally. There is also a lot of great stuff in the works that is coming along really well, like the inventory, medical, quantum, and of course Pyro, all of which I am personally extremely excited to see come to fruition in the not too distant future. Now, there were some teams that I left out, like some of the AI stuff, the engineering, and a couple of others, which I have already covered in the Squadron 42 monthly report, so I didn't want to repeat myself here. Of course, if you haven't seen that yet, I will link that in the description below. It is definitely worth listening to. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, do come and follow me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. We will be watching Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live today together, plus talking further about the monthly report. Hit the like button if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Thank you again to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.